Okay, so I have this steady Ruxpin a friend of mine purchased for me to work on, and gonna try to get it. It's pretty minty on the inside as far as I could tell, except for a couple of typical things that you find with these, like the batteries and this and that. And what I'm gonna try to do is just make this look presentable and uh, you know do my thing. Well, as you can see, superficially on the outside, he's looking pretty excellent. Not handled very much. Very clean fur. No matting upstairs. Just like absolute artifact. I'm going to try to keep it that way as much as my sloppy ass can. But, as you know, as I previously said before, we do, as I have investigated this previously, I'm going to try to be gentle with the battery bay because it's rather chilly in here and this is very old plastic. Yep. Typical alkaline battery leakage. Hopefully I can clean that up. You can see I was already prepared to do that. And yeah, even before I try to attach alligator leads to see what condition the servos, if they're working or not, or even before I test anything, we're gonna try to clean this up the best I can. See you in the next jump shot. So initially what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scrub all this up with some vinegar before I scrub it with anything else, because that's just been had good luck with that in the past, as opposed to starting with alcohol and then going to the vinegar. I don't know why, but I get the impression it makes more work for me. And this will be very difficult to see through the camera lens. But secondarily, what I'll do is apply some crystal hot sauce to everything. And yeah, some people like CLR. Some people prefer the Texas Pete. I don't think it really matters as long as it's cayenne pepper hot sauce. And yeah, it kind of makes another sticky mess that you got to clean up. But I think the stickiness is kind of part of the point, as it keeps the vinegar in place and allows it to, more do a more thorough job at neutralizing the chemistry. I'm just a bare dork, not a chemist, and you tend to stick with what's worked for you well in the past. So I'm gonna start there. Okay, so I've been scrubbing and cleaning out the interior of the battery bay, and that contact is coming pretty clean. As you see, there's a little bit of exposed copper. I think it's copper or steel terminal there. That doesn't have the nickel plating on it, but You see there's a couple spots I still need to touch up. It actually ended up being a lot more work because there was stuff caked on the interior, like all the way around, but it just seems that mostly it was just this second terminal that was affected. The rest of the terminals appear almost untouched. So, but have been scrubbing this with vinegar, and in fact it is doing a pretty good job of neutralizing and cleaning. So I might be able to skip the crystal hot sauce step, at least on the interior here. However, I want you to have a take a look at this because I thought this looked pretty cool, and it'll show you how, like, it'll show you the reaction when the acid is neutralizing the alkalinity. So, I'm missing because I'm trying to aim through the camera. Let's see. See that bubbling? That's good. That's what we want to see. Might need a little more vinegar than that. Well, got an idea. Just soak some up with that. I want to get it everywhere we can on the... See if we can salvage this battery bay. I think I have another decent battery bay. If... Well, we'll get this one working one way or another, even if we have to replace this metal strip with something else. It may not look the same, but it should be effective enough either way. But we'll see if we can't get this cleaned up so that it will work. I just want to keep everything original as much as I can help it. We're going to hit this part on the plastic. Fortunately, it doesn't look like the alkalinity does from the battery does too much to the plastic. So that's good. See this thick piece here? Probably have to chisel off and then hit it again with some more vinegar, but I'm going to let that do its thing. Alright, from the looks of it, I don't think we're going to need hot sauce at all this time. This cleaned up way better than I thought it would. I'm just going to leave it soak in vinegar a little longer. That way whatever has gotten behind the terminal potentially, well, you can see there's a little bit underneath the lip of this one. So I'm going to leave this soak, like fill these up. I'm not going to try to submerge the whole plastic, but as you can see, there's these plastic welds all the way around. And I don't think it's very feasible for me to open that up if I don't have to. So, it's really these sides of the terminals that you definitely don't want shorting out. Their other side have negligible effect on that, unless, like, you know, the wasn't chemically arrested. I don't think it's gotten too much underneath, except for maybe around the edges. And I think if it soaks in vinegar, that should probably clean that up and take care of that. This looks cleaner than a lot of my battery bays on my more beat up bears. So, alright, get back to you on that. Alright, so I don't know what I have to say for myself about why I procrastinate doing the things I want to do. Beyond that, I have debilitating bipolar schizophrenia and ADHD coinciding to contend with. And unless I give myself or someone provides a hard deadline to do something, I probably won't get around to doing it unless it happens to coincide with a manic episode and the lucidity derived from it. Anywho, because I got my heart and my mind on other projects too. I want to go ahead. We're just gonna give these contacts one good cleaning just to make sure there's no residual vinegar on them, and then we're gonna connect up a power supply and see if he's in operable condition. Because while some people might be under the operate under the principle of what do you call it? Preventative maintenance. I, however, feel like more often than not, preventative maintenance on certain things, more often than not, open a can of worms that otherwise didn't necessarily need to be opened in that instance. And so, the way I see it is, provided his animatronics are not seized up, I don't necessarily want to have to cut them open and relubricate them if he's still functionally working. And it just seems to me that would be an unnecessary step. It will eventually need to be done, and the belt, so on. Or if it's not, I don't think there's very many hours put on this thing. And as long as that belt isn't deformed or retaining that the shape of where it's been sitting by, demonstrably working correctly, I don't see any point in by the way, I'm just giving these a good scrub. And then I'm also going to go ahead and just give everything a blast this. A little contact cleaner. And do the same here. And that's just to make sure all the vinegar is off. I don't think the vinegar is going to certainly not cause any more corrosion than the caustic solution we use to neutralize it. Anyhow, so I'm fixing this up to make this available for sale to anybody interested in it. And some things that I had in mind is including with the kit everything you need to do to connect them up to your smartphone, this or that. I've also purchased a audio book and tape that he would have originally come with. Other things that I have in mind is that I need to replace this. I want to replace this window. Try to get it in the frame. Need to replace the window inside the box too. And I do have a replacement sheet of plastic here somewhere that I was going to use, but now I can't find it. So this, I may or may not get to this today, because I might have to just order some transparencies. I'm not trying to fix this up to fool anybody that it's in better condition and that it's not, but I want to put together a complete kit and make it look as nice and complete as possible. Well, that it can be. within, within reasonable expectations. So at this point, let me get right back to you. I'm going to allow this alcohol and vapors from the electronic cleaner to dissipate a little bit. And then also, what I meant to also say is, beyond Bluetooth receiver and the tape adapter, oh, well, here's the Bluetooth receiver, and it will either be this one or one just like it. And it's not that I'm particularly affiliated with Monster or anything, but as far as the parts that we need that are manufactured new, well, these are the ones that I've been using with my experiments all along. And this just happens to be also the best new product for the money that I can see that's going to functionally work and have proper head alignment to interface with him. And so we'll get to that part here in just a minute, and I will grab the other thing. It won't necessarily, it's not going to be this exact power supply that I use for testing, but I will provide alligator clip power supply, and I'll show you how to interface with them momentarily, so that you don't have to spend a fortune on C batteries necessarily if you don't want to. And I know a lot of I know a lot of long time Teddy Ruxpin enthusiasts know this trick all the same. It's not really that complicated. You got between 5 and 6 volt DC AC inverter and 2 alligator leads clipped to the positive and negative side. And anywho, I know that's not news to anybody who's had Teddy Ruxpin for a long time, but I don't think anybody's explicitly talked about it. So I figured I'd get into that, and then make a little bit nicer one of those. The other thing I had in mind, while we'll allow that to dissipate, is at some point I'd like to design a battery pack that's simply just a rechargeable battery pack that can just simply slide in, connect to those 2 terminals, and then snap into the appropriate places here. A lot easier said than done, but I don't see why not. It should be perfectly plausible enough to do. And I'll probably just require me doing some experimentation on my own teddy bears, but I think that would be a cool product if I could get that designed, where you could just buy a battery pack with the replaceable cells that you can place in him and charge him. Now, whether that require like an IC to make sure that he doesn't power the bear while he's charging, like his exact specifications is all still being deliberated in my mind, and I reckon a lot of that would just be derived from getting my hands dirty and experimenting with it. Alright, I think we're sufficiently ventilated enough. I didn't even have to turn the camera off. Sorry I don't have a better panoramic angle here. I've just got the tripod up on the table for space. Okay, power. Let's see if this teddy's got any life in him. Oh, and I reckon I'll also need my... Well, I don't need my test adapter any more than I need to test the new adapter. I'll do that instead. So that's positive, and that's negative. I forget which way it goes, but we'll find out. So basically, it's just a matter of getting the clip to sit and bite sideways on the terminal. Also easier said than done. Especially if you got little sausage fingers. We just bite on either side of the terminal, because that just gives you the most secure connection without deforming the terminal. And I guess I'll just go ahead power switch on in case I got it. Oh, he is powered on. Let's just double check that. See if got the polarity right. Could plug it in, right? Probably shouldn't hurt anything if it's only for a couple seconds to see if he effectively does anything. And he doesn't. So let's just switch that around. And if he doesn't fire up then, I might just be eating my words and happen to dig a lot deeper into Teddy than I hoped. That's not a good sign. I'm going to try to connect this terminal. Pretty sure. I gotta hold him closer to my face. And let me double check and make sure everything is plugged in. You know. Yeah, let me get back to you on that, because I might just be eating my words and having to do more surgery than I hope. Let me try to resolve this without burning up too much tape. Okay, so after some fooling around with it, my initial diagnosis comes down to I do have it wired up correctly. I guess right hand rule, right? Red to the right. You can see you can see the wire leads through the holes in there. So I do believe I have this oriented up correctly now. However, I feel this potentiometer feels really janky and sloppy. And so one and a whole number of other things could be causing power not to power on. One of them is this potentiometer is broken and failed, which is not the end of the world because I do believe I have a salvageable one in my barn. I saw it yesterday looking for tools. And I can just go grab that if that's just a simple matter of replacing this potentiometer. Almost feels like the rivets come out or been broke out of it and that it's not completing contact. A couple of times while fooling with it, I thought I could hear something trying to power up. The other thing that can inhibit it from powering up is and this is what the most notorious and pain in the ass thing to fix on Teddy, is the spring latch mechanism in the door. And these can fail even if they're just sitting new old stock. There's a spring latch in there, which, as far as I can tell, that feels like it's supposed to. So, first things first, and then the other thing that can make it fail is a bad capacitor that needs replaced. So, I guess at this point, there's nothing left to do other than open them up, and I'm going to go ahead and just run out to the barn and see if I can't just preemptively grab this component and see if we can't get that and see if it will suffice as a replacement if this is irreparable, which it feels like it might be. So let me do that. Alright, so I went to the barn and I found a part that we needed. Incidentally, it was in a box that might come in handy, and I went ahead and emptied out another box. Actually, this was the box that it was in. But I figured I'd go ahead and recover those boxes as they weren't doing much of anything useful. Went ahead and put this in some isopropyl alcohol to soak, because I reckon I pulled this out of a Teddy for a reason or another, and probably that reason is it was fouled up with some dirt, and it was just more expedient to replace it than clean it at the time. Otherwise, the integrity of this one feels pretty good, so that's promising if that ultimately ends up not. Now, the other thing I figured out is that, like, which I didn't know before, so you're here with me learning this together, and if I could get my fat head out of the light, which apparently I can't, you can also clip those alligator clips, at least these particular leads, on the internal ring and adjacent, which is a lot easier than biting on the side of both terminals. And I'm going to leave this connected up for the time being because I'm going to be opening them up, tooling around with them, and if he's got power supplied to it, I might help with the diagnostic, or just make my job even harder and more entertaining for you. But one thing I want to show you is if you use these alligator clips to supply power to him, the technique that I use to secure it from the outside with the original, let me get this camera adjusted so I can free a hand. But the technique that I like to use is to bring these cables so that they fall on either side of these snap tabs and don't get caught underneath of it, which famous last words here. So it will snap in, and also, as I'm doing, and also not bind the wires and help keep it securely in place. See? It'll bite just a little bit, but not too hard. And you got to be careful that you don't break the old plastic. So somewhere here, moments ago, I had the appropriate screwdriver that we need. Go ahead and open them up. Sorry if I don't always have the camera frame very good. I'm always single-handedly trying to multitask things. Hard to be a performer and a recordist at the same time. Whether that be multi-tracking or filming. Admire anybody who can consistently and regularly pull it off and achieve anything but mediocre results. Those are very admirable individuals. And you're probably listening to me breathe because I'm trying to do a little bit of everything. Oh, well, you know what? I was a little preemptive with this part. Because there are indeed additional screws. Do however think there's just the 4 screws and the rest of it is very fragile old plastic clips that you'll probably have the privilege of watching me break, but we'll see. Much as I don't really, much as I'd rather be working on other projects right now, I'm sure this thing conflating my expectations and hopes and desires is plenty enough entertaining for you if you made it this far watching it. Alright, so there's 2 screws. Actually, you want to give those up to me yet? And the other 1 screw. You want to give me that one too? No? See if Mr. Craftsman can persuade you. Alright, and the only thing, before I try to pull these snaps apart, I really need better access to my hands and the camera out of my way at least. So let me try to get this set up just a little differently so I'm not making this harder than it needs to be. Alright, well, hopefully at least this shot is a little better compromised, so you can somewhat see what I'm doing and I can somewhat see what I'm doing without having the camera interfering with my hands. And also give you a perspective of my messy workshop, which basically is just a spare bedroom that I have where I keep toys, mostly antique toys that I either tinker with or fix or repair. And sometimes it's a spare bedroom, sometimes general storage. It just depends. On the time. So now this is just a matter of me trying to coax Teddy's tape compartment apart. have a look inside. And as far as like my videos about programming, tell you Ruxpin, partly ran at an impasse because the cat knocked down the mixing analog multi-tracking mixer board that I wanted to use and busted out the RCA connectors to the mixer out. And as you probably seen in that previous videos, I had Teddy strapped to that piano for a damn good reason. Alright, so first thing I'm going to look at before I start taking wires apart, I want to see get any life out of them while fiddling around here. Have a look at this. Glued them in there real good. It looks pretty clean. It also feels like there's a lot of, I don't know how much of that play is from the capacitor. Need something with the appropriate leverage to fudge this piece of without breaking it. Just got to break loose a bit of hot glue holding the potentiometer to the chassis so the wires be out of the way when you put it back together. However, let's just follow that lead and make sure it's connected. Okay, it is. That's some high quality hot snot they got in there. Well, I guess at this point we're just going to have to go ahead take them all apart. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up doing more damage than good. I'm just trying to figure out what we got. Well, we got them conveniently, some of them conveniently marked for 1. I just don't know which, I never did post that video when I installed a 3-servo circuit board into a 2-servo bearer. Some of these have 3 servos, 2 servos. There's different configurations for them. But Yeah, three circuit board to a two circuit board bare works. It just doesn't work very well the other way. So just because, no matter how familiar you are with something, it's almost always regrettable to not photograph what goes what to where, and I don't even know if that's all that feasible without the markings that this guy put here, because well, yeah, I think he did us a solid marking that. Never hurts to go back, have some reference photos to reverse engineer your mistakes. I only find myself ever regretting not taking pictures. Now, first thing I'm going to remove is power to the board. Well, actually, no, this isn't power. This is circuit for the link cable for Grubby. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to just go ahead and pull positive terminal for power. And of course, I don't have a Sharpie. Let's just take another picture. So we know that the positive goes next to the Grubby terminal. Yeah, I'll just about wired this to make it really extra tricky to pull apart. Make sure that this is unplugged. And you know what? Before I get too carried away, let me make sure I'm getting 6 volts out of this. Just to make sure it wasn't the power supply that gave up the ghost. Yeah, before I get too far into this, I think it would behoove me to make sure that my power supply is working. Probably shouldn't have them wired that way. Should probably have them wired that way. too carried away with that. I should probably put a battery in my tester too. Alright. BRB. Alright, so after fumbling around and looking for some of the appropriate tools I didn't have at hand, and borrowing a 9-volt, that's not even the right screwdriver either. And recovering a 9-volt battery from my Ibanez tube screamer, and definitely not one of my smoke detectors, Mom. All I can say is after recovering that battery from my Ibanez tube screamer, which I only noticed just the other week that it was even still in the thing when I was rewiring my pedal board, I have to say that I can highly recommend the 7-Eleven 9-volt super alkalines, as that's been in there for approximately 7 or 8 years. It still has quite enough charge to tickle the tongue pretty good, in spite of being mostly wired in on the pedal board. And you know, they tend to pedals tend to drain if you leave the batteries and them plugged in, regardless if you left them turned on or off. So that's an impressive feat for a battery. Oh yeah, this one's been in here a long while too. This one just died, and I recognize it as it was one of many 9-volt batteries I repurposed from my stepdad's he had some sort of medical device that required a new heavy duty, like not the heavy duty, I hate what they would call heavy duty batteries, but it required a pretty fancy battery, which I wouldn't ordinarily buy. It's lithium even, holy mackerel. But I wonder if that's rechargeable. It says don't charge. And it definitely did. I don't tickle the tongue. Yeah, that's my barbaric way of testing 9-volt batteries. Now this 7-Eleven battery probably was in the pedal before I bought the pedal from Nikki, because I have no recollection of ever buying the 7-Eleven branded 9-volt batteries, but evidently I have one now. I really don't even want to put the screws back into that, because that's just a pain in the butt. It seems to mostly hold together. Yeah, we got power to the tester. Get that on the 10s. And plug this power supply back in, just the dummy check, and not make more work for myself than I need to, if I don't have to. What do I do with it? Yeah, I guess I'm just going to clip the leads here. Keep them separated. And plug it in. See if we got 6 volts. Yeah, 6.13. Yeah. Okay, so we know that my my test Teddy power supply is working as it's supposed to. So indeed, we will have to figure out what the hell Teddy's malfunction is. Yeah, this 100 milliamps has sufficed on every other Teddy I've used it on. Yeah, let's see what else. I'm going to take another picture. Oh, yeah, nothing left to do except investigate more and use the appropriate tools this time. And the most annoying part about this is that connectors on the tape deck itself are kind of just in the way of the connectors that I need to disconnect so I can see what I'm doing. Let me move those. Grubby connector. Oh boy, he's bit on there good. He's got a tab. Yeah, he's got a tab. Does this one have a tab? Yeah, they all got tabs. Right, now I'll put these connectors back before I forget where to go, and these were photographed, so I know which orientation these parts go. Would have been nice if they oriented the tabs to the outside of the board instead of the inside of the board. Just seems a little more ergonomic to me. Especially since this tab is butt right up against the capacitor. Herp diddly derp. Alright, now this is speaker. And speaker is next to our potentiometer. And the potentiometer is the primary thing I'm trying to get at, but everything's in my way, and here we are again with tabs butt right up against the capacitor. Yeah, that's some. Just have a look at the board real quick before anything else. Fuck clean. I don't see super clean. I don't see nothing indicative of swelling, but that's not a guarantee that not one or all of these capacitors are out of, but still usually we'll get something even if they're falling out of tolerances. You just won't work correctly usually, unless it falls like right on the DCN. Matter of fact, where did I pull off oh no, the red connects to the red wire. Just connects directly to the potentiometer, and then the potentiometer must be the ground, but I'm not convinced that's how the other teddy was wired. Because all of those wires just lead to the terminal. And look like we got a little bit different color coding too. I'm making sure I didn't forget and just leave it as standby. Alright, I'm going to have to manhandle this a second off camera to try to get this hot snot to let go. It definitely doesn't seem to want to cooperate. I don't know, that other potentiometer may or may not be wired the same. I don't know. There we go. That's probably the best way to do it. Yank it like crazy. What we got here? We got red wire on the blue wire, the potentiometer. Blue wire on the potentiometer. corresponds. Okay, the other end of the potentiometer, they've got the green wire though. And that, what is that? Now they got gray wire here, green wire here. Which, okay, yeah, I guess that would be ground, because when you close the circuit or open the circuit, that's what will complete it. But now that I have this in my hand, it doesn't feel as janky, so I don't reckon we need that. We probably just need to give this a good cleaning to start with some contact cleaner. Just give it a few turns just to, yeah, feel it in there. Just to make sure it's turning okay. So I think there's nothing wrong necessarily with this switch. It felt janky because it just wasn't seated in the housing very well. Some tabs back there, which I don't think I've ever seen tabs like that. Almost like spring loaded. It's weird. I think it's supposed to just catch and hold, but I'm wondering if he's got like some other, if this variant's got some other kind of sensor back there. Oh, and then we got a repair job here on, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of heat shrink right here on this wire. Well, that would be going to one of the servos, so that should only affect one of the servos. If that was shorted. So now the next probable culprit to investigate look like the hot snot will still go back in and do his job. Hold these wires out of the way. That's all we need, just to hold it. Yeah. Test continuity there if we run into another impasse. The next likely culprit is this spring latch mechanism. That may indeed be the let's see. Red goes to, red and blue go. Red goes to that terminal. But blue goes to that terminal. I want to test continuity. I want to make sure that I put it on the right side of the jumper. I guess it doesn't matter if I'm just testing continuity. Just so that that's speaker, ain't it? That's the grubby connection. So theoretically we should have continuity here. Oh, it might not get continuity if the potentiometer is not plugged in. Let's do it that way. Yep, definitely not getting continuity. From this terminal. Getting continuity from the jumper terminal, as you would hope so. It didn't happen as quick as I'd like. As now. Alright, let me try what we say. This is the red one here. Let's go in this way. Here's a blue one. Not getting continuity there, but is it turned on? Oh yeah, I guess I wouldn't get continuity that way, huh? Let's try the terminals again real quick. Nothing. Try these terminals again real quick. I mean, we should get continuity. Hold on. Wait. There's red one. There's red one. Connect it to this blue wire. So I need to actually test on this blue wire. Nothing. Let me try testing the continuity between this. Yeah, so we got continuity on the potentiometer. That means something else in circuit is malfunctioning. Because that's, and then if I go ahead, turn it off, I shouldn't get continuity if I'm doing this right. Right, no continuity now. Okay, so the potentiometer appears to be working correctly. One other thing I could think of. It is a spring latch mechanism. Which requires taking this apart a whole lot further. I frankly don't remember which jumper terminal it resides on. Because that being the case, if I can't easily get it back into shape, I think the best solution is the easiest solution. And that would be just to bypass the spring latch mechanism altogether, and hopefully the user is smarter than a 2-year-old that this was designed for and knows to turn the bear off before he swaps the tape. That's really all that is for, is that it shuts the tape off. However, it being like a notorious failure point on these bears, because like 9 times out of 10 when they don't work, it's the spring latch mechanism. And it shuts off power to everything when it doesn't work. And I feel like if I want to sell this to somebody, it's not intended for children necessarily. Like, I don't want to fix the spring latch mechanism, and it's just going to be a matter of time before it fails. The buyer just needs to be aware of that. Exercise a little common sense and turn the bear off before he removes the tape, to prevent the tape from being eaten. With the adapter, it's not going to really make much of a difference either way, if you're going to just primarily use it with this. And for me, I don't think the benefits of having it is just worth the it's just the worth the risk of it being a recurring failure point and a pain in the ass. So the only thing left for me to do at this point if I'm going to do anything at all further at this very moment, is to tear down the tape deck even more. And find the jumper wires associated with the spring latch mechanism. I'm trying to avoid doing that because it's just a matter of clipping the wires and either shorting them across or not having them connected. Then that just saves me a whole lot of time, effort. I guess that'll give us a good look at the belt. Everything else conceivably, though. First things first, I'm going to remove these jumper cables, get them out of the way. Alright, where did the blade screwdriver go? Well, I had a sneaking suspicion, if I remember. It's either... No, this must go to the tape head. I'm almost certain of that. This is tape head. And I think it's actually... Well, it must be one of these three wires down here. Because all it remains is power to the motor. The cincher, the counterfeit tape cincher, which I've gone over ad nauseum how to defeat without making any modifications whatsoever. And the cincher to the spring latch mechanism. So, if you've made it this far and you get any takeaway from this, you'll learn today how to save yourself a lot of time and effort with the convenient modification is just bypassing that bullshit altogether. Hopefully. Couldn't tell you if that will actually rectify the situation or not, but however, it will indeed eliminate one of the possibilities before I go in here and put all brand new capacitors into this board. But my hunch is that indeed it does. Wow. So I need to duly note this. There is a rubber grommet on this particular screw that resides between traces. So I have a feeling they don't want those traces shorted out. But nevertheless, they put a screw there. I'm going to take a picture of that rubber grommet screw, go into this hole between traces, and one of those traces, of course, is connected right up to a capacitor. There's the possibility we put something other than a metal screw back into that trace. Because holy shit, if you was concerned enough to put a rubber grommet there, wow, there's not a rubber grommet on any of the other screws. Clearly, they did not have confidence in the screw's proximities to those traces and that capacitor. So that could be a clue to what else may have been going wrong. And if we just have a single capacitor that has failed for some reason, my hunch is that one. Make sure I got that picture so I remember precisely. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, this teddy's not exactly like any of the other teddies I've taken apart, apparently. I've taken apart in all kinds of models, but I have no recollection of ever seeing a rubber washer on one of the, so I don't know what board revision this is, but this does not look like my other boards. Exactly. No. There was a trace, bit of dirt, hair or something between that pin and that resistor. So, I don't know. Let's get the board off of there. Because you know, I wonder if this teddy was never really handled or played with much, because maybe he was defective all along. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is 3 servo bear. And the only spare 3 servo bear I have, board that I have, is in Frankenteddy. I'm trying to remember the reason I took the board out of Frankenteddy. And had I posted that video, you could tell me. I know that I had one that had good electronics. But the tape, I don't think it was necessarily something wrong with the board. But it might have just been my ad hoc solution to bypassing the tape mechanism. But the way this board is soldered together, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence. I don't know if you can see this, but like, I'm not sure if some of these traces are intended to touch or not. It being 3 servo means that it's a relatively early revision of the board. Look, it says right there, revision E. And right there it says revision E, so now we know exactly what revision it is. Whatever that means. From the looks of it, shit. The shit revision. E for failure. I don't know if you can get a good look at that, but it just looks... Pause video if you need to. It just looks conspicuously half-baked. The way the traces go together. Somewhere down here I saw a trace where it looks like it's jumping one terminal to another, and the trace doesn't look all that pretty either. I don't see no jumper wires. I certainly see evidence of cooked and half-baked traces. Alright, so anyway, at this point, the way I see it is, if bypassing this tape latch mechanism doesn't do the trick, I don't even see the point in replacing the caps on this board, because of the way the traces already look from the onset. All I'm going to do is just... What is that? cold solder joint if I ever saw one. Which I've probably seen plenty of my own. Yeah, I don't know. Just something about his board. I just see too many potential points of failure to just even be worthwhile trying to fix it, as opposed to just finding another board that works. And I know precisely where there is one. Alright, so besides it being clean, which I think it being clean as it is, it really gives me some insight about this particular board revision looking fucking half-baked as shit. And I don't mean just being like baked in a toaster oven, because it probably was. I mean, yeah, what the fuck. Alright, so Mr. Spring latch mechanism. Because the thing is, the spring has like very little room for tolerance. I can't even see the spring right now. Which, ordinarily I can. Alright, this definitely the tape head. That's definitely... Yellow's common, I think. Maybe could put... Oh my god, I really don't want to strip it down further than I have to. But I can see that this door is not engaging with that switch one way or the other, so that is most certainly at least one of the primary culprits. I guess there's nothing else to do other than take it down apart more. There's supposed to be another spring in here, and I don't see that at all. which would mean he either didn't never ship with one for whatever reason, or somebody else has been in here. Trying to remember what good removing the screw is going to be. Oh yeah, that's so that the tape mechanism itself can be removed from there. So that way everything springs out of it. It makes a mess and they never get it back together. You're all laugh at me. You think I kid, but no, I have done exactly that before. Probably taken apart over the last 30 years. 20 of these at least. And only had some success in actually repairing them in the last decade. That was because I was more concerned about hooking Teddy up to a computer more than anything else. And I didn't have a lot of guidance to help me figure that out at the time. And then I discovered, with the exception of him not working correctly to start with, which was generally half the problem I had trying to get him to work with the computer, was because I never had a fully functioning Teddy to work with, for whatever reason. But I discovered that the only thing impeding from just using an audio cassette was simply just stripping out a piece and not tripping the well, was just realizing that there was a counterfeit lockout switch interfaced with the cassette. And I remember staring at that thing as a child and wondering what the hell it was, what it was for, and what it did. Somehow knew deep down it would probably be important to me one day, at least to some degree. And it was, at least to me personally, because that was how I figured out how to get Teddy to cooperate with unauthorized tampering in audio. There's more screws. And I think last time I tore it down this far, it did not go so pretty. And I'm not putting it past myself that at some point real soon, I don't throw my hands up with this and post the video as it is, and subsequently post an update when to do. What the fuck? Let me get this up before I damage it. I haven't already. Yeah, so drop something. In all likelihood, it's probably lost. If it's a screw, I fortunately have a spare. I can't imagine what screw it would have been, because I thought I got all the screws I loosened out. Might be a washer. Yeah, that's what it is. It's that fucking washer on the other side. Forgot all about that. That's right. There's that one little washer, and I really think the whole purpose of that little washer for that particular part is so you would do just that, drop and lose the washer, and now they know some unauthorized repair person has been in there fixing it. So before I try to recover that, I need to get down here on my hands and knees and try to fucking recover that fucking piece. This is like the worst time. You picked the worst time to come bother me. And boy, this would be the tiniest nut you ever saw. You got any guitar pickups kicking around? Oh my goodness, cats. Your timing is so bad. Yep. Another crossfade. Alright. Well, pleased to inform you that I did successfully recover a nearly unrecoverable component. And it falls out, and additionally, there's another reason guitar pickups are called pickups. So, I think, as a matter of fact, it would behoove me put that guitar pickup in there. So it just holds tightly to that. So it doesn't just simply fall out and away from my container. And get Teddy, see if I can just get Teddy out of the way, because he's not exactly required to participate in his vivisection. Now, oh, in case you ever was wondering why this quilt happens to be on my workbench, it's to hopefully help prevent screws from bouncing around. I'm going to push them out. And that piece right there might have been one of the reasons I've had trouble in the past. And of course that screw is being screwy. And there's a nail. Set aside just in case I encountered. There's another one that might be handy if it doesn't work. Couple additional Teddy Ruxpin screws too, just in case we lose a couple. There. It's out. I'm going to put that right next to, you know what, as a matter of fact, I'm just going to connect that right up to the little tiny nut. That way, with their powers combined with this guitar pickup, hopefully that will prevent its loss. I know my floor is not level, but damn, I'm not quite certain why it's rocking around as bad as it is. Either my floors are really that bad or this leg's falling out. Oh, well, that would be it. That would be why. That could have been catastrophic. Alright. Does that satisfactorily account for all the screws holding it together? I reckon that it must, and this is where I cringe. This is where everything's going to take a turn for the worse. I guarantee it. Tape sensor. That's the latch. Now if I push on this motor, hold up. I really don't like going this deep into it. This is where everything likes to go wrong. That screws out, that screws out. Somehow it simultaneously needs to pop out and slide down at the same time. And that will break that, which is not good. This is why this is always fucking goes wrong. See, because there's another circuit board down here. And the color coding of these wires is not consistent from one board to another. So if I don't take it apart, I'm just guessing. I'm afraid if I do take this apart, it's going to be a fucking real pain in the ass to reassemble too, but I guess it has to be done. Where is this thing? Supposed to functionally, I guess you're supposed to push it up that way. And this should facilitate. Still don't see any sign of the spring latch itself. Okay, I see. I knew there had to be another component here that must come out. But really? Is that how they did it? I guess so. So this plastic tab needs to come out of there, and I had to do it without snapping it. And Clearly Ken Forrest designed this to prevent people from getting all too curious about self-repair. Oh wait. So that piece pucks there. Alright, so there's this plastic cap that sits over the tape head housing. And I'm just trying to figure out the way that it's supposed to snap off without breaking it. And from the looks of it, that's all there is to it. I just have to tear it out. QC pass, it says. No, from the feel of it, it's almost as if he's glued it right into place, or there's some sort of tab that don't have easy access to release it. That's gotta be it. Yup. You know what? That belt, gear, everything else part of the assembly looking pretty good. And I am terrified about the prospect pulling it all the way out to see which wires part of the but I'm afraid that I probably need to because the looks of it is a red and a blue wire connected to that switch, but red and blue do not correspond to these. But hold on. So the only other sensor is a tape lockout sensor. And the motor. I'm quite certain there's supposed to be a metal freaking D-spring in here. I don't see it on the interior of this thing anywhere. Which is just freaking nuts. This is almost like that's right. I recovered the circuit board from the bear where I damaged the tape mechanism irreparably. And that was a 3-servo board that I put in the 2-servo bear that had really fucked up mechanism. Taking these things apart is just freaking. You know what? Hold up. Pull this tab, push forward. Ooh. I think we have a little bit of HQ reparation. Little bit. Yeah, at this point I've given all hopes of like making a career out of repairing these. And you think of a lot of things I'd rather Okay, so I got that piece out. So theoretically, it should just want to. I hate old plastic. Oh, snapped it right back in. So you're just going to push forward and lift up on this tab. When I do that, I still basically have this fucking keep housing cover glued in a fucking way. I mean, if you're staring at me and just being like, use continuity tester, yes, sorry to crash my mind, but at the same time, I'm kind of a little bit frustrated. I can't fucking pull this apart without fucking breaking it. To the degree that I almost just feel like fucking breaking it. Like, why is this fucking hate pad fucking cover fucking attached so securely when clearly and obviously it's in the fucking way? I'm sorry about cursing, but sheesh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is very clear to me that I had replaced that circuit board. Because I really don't like tearing into it deeper than that. But the other perplexing thing is, I don't even see this D-ring thing anywhere on the interior of this where it's supposed to be. And can barely even fathom why it wouldn't be there in the first place. because it's supposed to be like right here. You see, this is doing is when you open this up, it pushes on this plastic tab. Which arrests that wheel and I think consequently help it, what that does is that lifts the tape heads out of the way, right? Tape heads are supposed to go up and down, up and down. Let me see if I snap this back into place again. Put some pressure on this hinge. When I lift up, it should raise the heads, and when it goes down, it should push the heads back down. Right, lifts the heads. Lifts the heads. I'm not even sure if this thing's even sliding on the armature very good. Yeah, okay, so that's the bench roller. That lifts the bench roller. When this thing closes, yeah, and the thing was supposed to interact with the spring is right here. And apparently it's not even there. Not only that, this is so annoying to do, this part. So, go this way, hold it in place, when I open it, pretty sure these heads are supposed to go up and down a little bit. I'm almost certain of it. And that might be precisely why I'm having so much trouble getting it out. Because instead of contracting, down to engage with the tape head, yeah, so that's about where we're at with this. At this point, I have only a couple options. I just get another cassette mechanism that I know works, or I'm gonna have to wait till I can order some lithium grease, because I don't know where my lithium grease is right now, and try to see if I can lubricate or finagle this so that the tracking, see, these heads are supposed to move up and down just a little bit, and there's a guide right here. So when his door opens, his heads move up out of the way. But the position just seems stuck all the way up at the top, even before I got as far as I did with it. So this video is probably already long enough, and I doubt anybody's watching it this far in. If you are, more power to you. Please like and subscribe. I certainly need more viewers of the sort. Yeah, so I don't feasibly see any possible way for me to get this apart without breaking it, which would be a shame, because for plastic as old as it is, this is actually pretty good condition. So, but in order for me to get this tape housing out of this chassis, so I can even have a look at what's going on behind the sarcophagus of plastic, I've got to get this tape head assembly lubricated enough and finagled so it will compress and fit through the slot. And that's not something I'm going to be able to do tonight, or probably not even going to be able to approach it for a couple weeks, because inexpediency always leads to freaking disaster. And really don't want to end up breaking this more than I already have. However, let me try one other thing. Okay, there should be continuity on the supposed to be continuity on the sensor. I think it's continuity. It's supposed to be on the sensor. Or not continuity, and when it's depressed, there's continuity. I don't fucking know. Let's just probe it. Oh, good Lord. I thought I had a sewing kit in here, and I was going to attempt to just run some pins inside to get some continuity, because I can't get any continuity through the... I can't get any continuity directly with the testers this way, except maybe... No. Insulation goes way up in there. So I'm going to conclude this video, and we'll just call it part 1, and I'll leave you on a cliffhanger till I can... I'm sort of just at an impasse till I can find or buy some more lithium grease. Try to get these heads moving. I was going to say, like, I just put it back together and just find the continuity for the sensor. Figure it out by process of elimination, but won't do a damn bit of good if these heads don't move. Or if the spring's not in there. So it's going to go one or two ways. I will either get this head sliding like it's supposed to, so I can come completely apart, or I'm going to just say screw it and just drop in a whole new replacement, but I'll have to recover one from somewhere. Putting that tape back in there doesn't make a darn thing move. All the other thing I could think of, try real quick. Where'd I put it? Let's see how it interfaces with this tape adapter. My testing tape adapter. Oh, goodness. Of course I did. freaking serious. Did I put it in backwards? Yeah. Well, good news, ladies and gentlemen. That's not our problem. The problem is, or my perceived problem was, the heads don't engage till you put the tape in. And it releases. Tape, the heads do engage. And when they do, they do. So that would be, I think I know how to get it. I think I know how to get it to trip now. Alright. Pull it back up. Right. Slide this out. Alright, Daddy. So now, this is here. The tape head won't. However, if I do this, I think, what's it take to make that tape head trip? Is it both of these? Let's see if I can find a disposable tape deck suffice enough to get that heads to compress and maybe get this thing out of here. I'll be right back, or even not, this will conclude the video of part 1. I've got other things I gotta do. Alright. But alright, so got my dinner started in the oven. And I'm going to take one last stab at pulling this apart before I call it part 1 and leave you on a cliffhanger. Which I think is going to be about inevitable anyway, because I'm losing my patience with this. And if I lose my patience, I will be inclined to end up ultimately breaking this more than fixing it. And if this doesn't work, I would probably be in my best interest to review one of those gentlemen in my suggested, I forget what his name is, but I'll have to review one of his videos about the appropriate methodology of pulling this apart. If this doesn't work this time. Now that that's that way, and now if I finagle this be nice if I had eyes on both sides of my head and extra pair of hands. Good Lord. Yeah, that's kind of seems to be helping matters, just not enough. So I have a feeling I'm gonna have to review a video about how to safely tear this down further before I either lose my patience, throw it through the wall, or just break it out of expediency. From the looks of it, it's not this, even though I can't even see the spring from this vantage point. It seems that the latch itself is not really so much the problem as whether it is continuity of the sensor, whether it's stuck open or closed. It's not providing power to the board. But I can't really diagnose. I mean, it could. Well, I'm at an impasse on this until I'm not. So we'll call this part 1 of the video. And as soon as I can figure out how to get this apart the rest of the way without breaking it. There's nothing more I could do with it this very minute. Oh yeah, I think there is one other thing to do, because while I was down in here, I did see I missed a spot. Or rather that the vinegar didn't sit on this one terminal long enough to finish neutralizing the alkalinity to the terminal. So we'll be breaking out a little bit of cayenne pepper sauce after all. It doesn't have to be this brand. I'm just finding this brand for the flavor. It's not very spicy. I like spicy. This is the weird hot sauce that I like, in spite of it not being spicy, and just enjoy the general flavor of it. Not that it's distinct from any, not that it's very distinct from any other red cayenne pepper sauce like Texas Pete or whatever. It's a very subtle difference. But since we're going to put him up for a little while, I figure it would take the time and go ahead and put some of that. Everything else seemed to clean up pretty good, except for that. And you know what? In the next video, there's a possibility we just might take the whole plastic chassis right up out of Teddy and have a look at the other side. Because I don't suppose it's impossible that some of the alkaline solution from the battery cell didn't get behind one of these terminals and affect the continuity of the wire. I don't know. But it very well just might come down to that. All I know is I'm behind on this, but I'm also behind on some other videos and things that I want to or need to do. And getting just a little tired of playing with Teddy's butt. That looks to be about. That looks to be about everything I missed. So at least just leave that painted on there. The only difference between the vinegar and the cayenne pepper sauce is that the cayenne pepper sauce just has more of a tendency to stay put where you left it. Where the vinegar, the acid tends to consolidate together as the water solvent evaporates. I ain't no chemist, but that's what I surmise. So yeah, that's going to conclude part 1 of this video, and I'll post hopefully part 2, hopefully the final video for this particular teddy bear. Maybe, maybe not. We may have just opened Pandora's box. Not really. We'll get him fixed one way or the other. It's just not going to happen as fast as I hoped. Alright. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And have a wonderful whatever time it is for you. Goodbye.